Howdy guys, Rex here. Today we're talking about the 10th Commandment. This one is not to be taken lightly. It is super helpful for getting out of a big, giant, horrible bear trap that a lot of us find ourselves in, okay? This one is pure gold, pure wisdom, especially for those of us that have volunteered ourselves to eternal slavery to the bank or just being miserable in our conditions, okay? And this is the 10th commandment, kind of as it's written, okay? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor their manservant, nor their maidservant, nor their ox, nor their ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's, okay? Why is that a good idea? Okay? I mean, there's a lot of reasons. We'll go through them real quick. Number one, you might stumble into breaking the other commandments if you're coveting what other people got, right? Like if you covet all the stuff they got, you might fall into the commandment to want to steal their stuff, right? Obviously. Another thing, if you covet your neighbor's wife, that might cause you to go into adultery, like we said before, okay? And be happy with the one you have, or pick a good one in the first place. Or if you don't have one, go get one. Go get yourself a really awesome wife, okay? Go find some cool chick. That's like no problem at all, right? Well, easier said than done. Some of us got very lucky very early. I got real lucky real early. Just fell on my lap. God knew I couldn't handle much less. But at any rate, a lot of us end up coveting our neighbors' wives. And then not only are you busy trying to wrestle with the flesh on that whole deal like we talked about earlier, but you're also busy just being miserable because, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, right? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Listen carefully to this one, America. How many of you guys work your asses off? Way more than you want to. You're working over 40 hours a week. I've worked over 100 hours a week for years on end. Literally. Like slaving my ass off. Pardon the French. I'm just talking straight with you guys, okay? Slaving to get stuff I didn't really need, okay? The neighbor's house is nice. Can go down to, you know, other people's property, and you're like, wow, that's magnificent. And especially the way that people take pride in their things. And, you know, you kind of want to keep up with the Jones. It's expensive to keep up with the Jones, man. And really, ask any rich person how this deal works. How often do they get to actually enjoy all that stuff that they busted their butts to get? Are they sitting on their porch enjoying the sunset? Or are they slaving away, busting the butts, trying to figure out how to expand the empire, right? That's the hole that will never fill in your soul through material property, okay? You're never ever gonna, no matter how cool the stuff you get, how big a house you get, whatever, you're never quite satisfied. You always got to upgrade, okay? And then pretty soon you're in this like Cold War, this battle of like trying to outdo the guy next door. Like, okay, well, he's got this kind of porch, I'm gonna have a bigger porch. He has a jacuzzi, I'm gonna get a bigger one. Pretty soon you're not sitting in the jacuzzi. Pretty soon you're sitting there on a night shift pulling a double trying to afford all this other stuff. Plus, mama has to go to work all of a sudden, right? Once mama's at work, guess who's taking care of your children? Nobody. Somebody else is, somebody that ain't you, okay? They want you to take care of them. You're missing out. You've been handed a treasure, a giant block of solid gold, and you're busy chasing this like ethereal nonsense stuff that you don't really need. Now, I'll tell you a quick story on how this works. And it's very interesting. I've been in all different levels of income bracket, from absolute poverty by American standards, okay? I was homeless, okay, for a while when I got done doing my little spiel, you know, with the gang, right? And so when I got out of there, I was living on the West Coast in my pickup truck, okay? And I literally dug food out of the dirt, out of the sand, with a Bushman Tonto knife, or a cold steel Bushman knife, one of those big knives you can attach to like a stick and make a spear out of. And so I was digging stuff out of the sand and eating it, literally. I was like caveman, okay? And that was one of the happiest times in my life. I had everything I needed. I had a topper on my '83 Chevy pickup. I had a warm sleeping bag. The weather was beautiful. I had amazing scenery, the ocean. Good company. They'd be coming through. I had a $35 guitar that someone was throwing in the garbage can. I had my 1911, so no bad guys would get me. And that's it. And I just parked on the beach, and I lived in a van down by the river, man. Happiest time of my life. Zero responsibilities, just enjoying what God had laid on me. That's when I could hear God speaking and whispering. I could wake up in the morning, oh man, I got to do this, wait a minute. There ain't nothing I got to do. I'm set. You ever wonder why there's a lot of people who choose to be homeless? Now, some of them have problems, but a lot of them, who's the smart one? Even if you look at like John the Baptist, man, was he running around trying to acquire more property? He was running around the desert with animal skins eating honey and locusts, man. He had other bigger, more important priorities, like listening to what God was saying. That guy, was he failing to do his job in the universe? No. Was he remembered for his great wealth? No. He was remembered for making a really good point, okay? So what I'm saying is, like, that's not the key. I remember upgrading to a house. Well, I lived in a room of a house, a fourplex, where it was basically condemned, and there was one corner that wasn't like leaking, and so a guy could legally, maybe semi-legally, rent it out. So it was like $110 a month. I stapled blankets to the windows so the icicle breeze air wouldn't come in, and man, that was sweet. I had a bathtub, I had a toilet. You know what I mean? I mean, that was not a bad deal. Required me to have a job all of a sudden to keep and maintain that luxurious lifestyle, And so I had a job for a while. And as soon as I got married, very shortly thereafter, we lived there for about a year, very happily. That was the second happiest I've been in my life. Me and the wife just sitting there. Well, it might have been the happiest because I had a wife, a really good company. But we got to sit there and enjoy it. Look at how big this earth is, dude. Look out the window. You don't need to own it to look at it to think it's beautiful and enjoy it. In fact, there's a lot of public land that you do own. There's like the park and the river and the mountain and the national forest and all that stuff. Okay? Then we upgraded to a trailer house and it got less happy. Then we upgraded to a nice house, well, not like a lower to middle income family home. That's when I started having to work kind of hard. Okay? And she had to kind of like get serious about business. All of a sudden it was like stressful. Then I decided I had to get educated because, got to keep up with everybody else. And so I went to university, and that's expensive. So all of a sudden, here I am slaving away. I got a really good job, made, like decent money and all that stuff. I became upper middle class, whatever you want to call it. But I was working 100 hours a week between the two jobs I had. My wife was working 40 hours a week in her job. And we barely get to do anything together. I mean, I went for like 5 years without with literally just kind of like passing and saying, hey, I'll catch you later, And so was there happiness in that situation? No. What caused me to go through that voluntary slavery? Okay. I was coveting other people's stuff. I saw that someone else had a nice big cool house and I wanted it too. What people project is this idea of wealth by you going over their house and they show you the boat, their camper, their whatever, ninja race cars, race horses, whatever they got, right? Everyone has their stuff that we kind of use to peacock socially, and everyone has their own shtick. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, except it becomes your master. Once all your stuff becomes your master and you have to work for it, your family becomes like a back priority. Listening to what God says to do, or listening to what there's so much to be learned in the universe. If you're too busy slaving for some crap you bought from Walmart, to actually sit down and just really contemplate, think about the prophets of old, like Elijah, right? And even like the Greek guys that came up with all this stuff, they sat in a cave for huge lengths of time and just sat there in a cave and were happy in their thought. They just thought with their brain. The human brain is incredible. There's a lot of stuff going on in the universe and they could tap into it by listening. You can't listen if you're too busy. So we get tricked into this slavery by coveting what other people have. And they actually, here's the funny joke, here's the lie. They don't, most of them, some of them do, most of them don't actually have it. The bank has it. They pretend like they have it when they show it to you, and so you're under this idea like, wow, look at all this stuff they have. They don't. The bank has it. They're just babysitting it for the bank, okay? And actually they're going to pay for it like 3 or 4 times over, okay? If you bought it with cash, that's better. But still, the more you get, the more you have to maintain. You know what I'm saying? I just had a really good talk with one of my loyal compadres on this topic. He gave me really good advice recently, because, look, honestly, man, I've been given some solid gold in life. It's just funny how a guy never notices that he's sitting right on your lap, right? And so a guy volunteers, like a guy gets stressed, like trying to like do 900 million things all at once, 50,000 projects on the fire, trying to, you know, get to the gold on the end of the rainbow. When there is no freaking gold at the end of the rainbow, you actually can't even get to the rainbow until later. That comes later. But I have this like solid gold laying on my lap. And I'm like not satisfied with this treasure chest that I already have. And I got to go chase some kind of freaking leprechaun over someplace that doesn't even exist, okay? And if I ever catch it, it disappears. It's not even really there. Or by the time you catch it or find the pot of gold, you're dead. And you didn't even get to enjoy the stuff when you were young enough to enjoy it, right? So coveting your neighbor's house and their wife and their servants and their automobiles, their ox and their assets, it says in the old days, that's like their truck and their automobile. It says don't covet any of your neighbor's stuff. Be happy with what you have been given, okay? Some people have been given health. Some people don't have health. If you've been given health, be happy with that. Go for a run. You don't need, you can live in a freaking tent. Like back when I was living in my pickup truck, I was in incredible health. I'd go for runs, I'd swim in the ocean, I would surf, and that was what I did. I never, ever, ever, ever begged for money, took any kind of government assistance, never got any free stuff ever, never held a sign. I would play guitar sometimes for change if I needed money for ramen noodles. And I was a good guitar player, so I got enough to feed myself. That's all I needed, man. I don't know if you guys are liking this story or not, but it's a true story, okay? And so I'll tell you what, I've been all over the spectrum from upper middle class to what they call homeless. And I don't think being homeless is the answer. It's nice to have a house with a... Here's what you actually need, okay? If you're in a northern climate, you need a furnace. That's important so you don't freeze to death, okay? It's also nice to have a roof, okay? Walls where the wind doesn't blow through. And furnace, roof, walls. There you go. The rest is being creative, having an imagination. You can create your own stuff. Whittle yourself a chair out of it, you know, make something out of nothing. I mean, or work a little bit, but I mean, like, do not become a slave to material goods. Also, when you become a slave to material goods, what are you not working for? Who becomes your boss? Money and material possessions become your boss. You are now continuously prioritizing that instead of the mission. The mission is not to gain a pile of stuff so that someday when you drop dead, a bunch of your kids or nephews will auction it off in 2 hours. Your entire fortune that you've, all the guns, the guitars, the motorcycles, the ammunition, all your earthly treasures will be gone in 2 hours in one auction sale. Boom. Nobody cares about that stuff. Not even your close family that's pretending like they do. Okay? That's not what they're into. That was your earthly treasure. That only means something to you. And does it even really mean that much to you? So why would you go and slave for that stuff when the whole time you could have been sitting in life? You could have went and visited one of your great aunts and had a good conversation. You could have went and helped someone out who needed help. You could have went and hung out with people. You could have shared knowledge. You could have visited. You could have passed on whatever it is. You could have had a conversation. You could have been reading about the Father and accomplishing his mission, which basically is to communicate the truth of the universe, which is what we're doing here, see? We're trying to. I'm still like an E1 in his army, I'm sure, right? But I'm slowly learning how to reprioritize and reassess the battlefield and realize that, like, what do I actually need in life? Once you decide what that is, like, downsize. Downsize to something that is totally within your means. My father's generation, they had 14 kids in their family. And for thousands of years, okay, families have lived, like, all of them into one tent. Or all of them in one little tiny room someplace, or a little mud hut. My father's generation, 14 kids, I think there was 2 bedrooms in that house. Totally happy. Good, I mean, like, close-knit family structure. I mean, there was the yard, there was all kinds of, you could go out and explore, you had to go garden, they were busy working, bringing home food, for the family and stuff like that. All the kids worked, they were all, had jobs to do, but, like, this post-World War II material possessions thing is trickery, man. And I'm telling you, happiness is not at the end of that rainbow. With that being said, maybe if you guys stressed out in life, just chew on that deal and think about it. Like, what actually do you really, really need? We will, like, even go to the point of turning over our most precious gold that we've been miracled to have and pass it off to strangers or people that aren't us, that we don't know, so that we can go and pursue peanuts, styrofoam peanuts that are worth nothing. We'll slave away for eternity to get all that stuff. It blows away at the wind. Castles made of sand fall into the sea eventually, like the Hendrix song says. Very true, okay? Embrace the solid gold you have been given. If you don't think you have solid gold, maybe get away from the noise of life for a little while and just really listen. And you might learn a lot. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. If you do not covet your neighbor's stuff, you all of a sudden will be a free man. And you might not have to work 100 and some hours a week. Okay? You might be able to have that old school simple man philosophy. Listen to this song, Simple Man, okay? I'm going to put a link in here to the song Simple Man. Pay attention to the song, listen to the lyrics, absorb the idea, and add that to your stature, okay? It's not super complicated. All right, Rex out on this one. We will pick up where we left off here. There's more to it than just that, guys. Although it is simple, we'll keep visiting about it. All right, catch you on the next one.